Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Coffee with Convery, where we delve into the diverse journeys of professionals across various industries. Today, I have the pleasure of speaking with Julien Duval, a seasoned construction superintendent with over 25 years of experience in the industry. Julian's career has taken him through significant roles where he's overseen major civil work projects. His extensive background in project management and construction offers valuable insights into the trades industry. In our conversation, we'll explore Julian's career path, the importance of mentorship in the trades, and gather his perspectives on building a successful career in construction. Julian, welcome to Coffee with Convery.
Well, thanks for having me, Brian.
Great to see you and looking forward to the conversation. So, why don't we first start with a couple rapid fire get to know you questions? If you had to
Sure.
think about this one, what is your superpower?
That one, you know what? It's not has nothing to do with me. But
Okay.
my superpower would definitely be my family, my wife, and my two boys. Yeah, I would have to say that would be my superpower. It's a good strength, source of strength for me.
It's a fuel to yourself, your engine,
You
right?
bet.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome. I love that. I love that. You're the first, and I think that's
really.
a really good one. Yeah, I love it. School, I don't know, high school doesn't matter, but what was your favorite subject?
I really enjoyed social studies, the history, geography, those socioeconomic things as well. The other one was sports, honestly.
Yeah.
Like I was sports kept me in school. So it's that's what it was.
Was it competitive sports, like different, like kind of
Yeah, football and rugby.
football,
They
football,
were big
rugby?
ones for
Okay.
me, and they really kept me. Well, the school was the ends to the means, so I had to do it right. So
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's awesome. I think when I think about, sports and things, sometimes people don't talk enough about them because it creates great skills too, right?
it
Teaming
it
and
it really does, and I mean, further along the lines, I mean, that's exactly why I like what I do. You have that team mentality, and I was always a team sports guy. So
there you go. See, transferable skills.
you bet.
Very first job. We all start somewhere. What was yours?
My first non-construction job was actually dish pit and became a prep cook at Milestones and Montana's and restaurants here. Still one of my favorite jobs. I really did enjoy it. I worked with a
Yeah.
really good group of people that you know what, and we cross paths every so often as well. And no, I really like that one. But again, team mentality, right? There was definitely a lot of teamwork involved in that.
Awesome. If you had to pick a word to describe yourself, what would it be?
Um, I've got a lot of negative ones, but honestly, passionate. I would be, of all things, would be passionate, whether it's good or bad. When I lock onto something, I definitely see it through with a passion for sure.
Passion's good. I like passion. So a lot of our listeners are coming at it from maybe transitioning into like their first career or people kind of rethinking what they might do in their next chapter or things like that. But everyone always wants to know from the guests, like, how did you get to where you are? What initially drew you into construction? Kind of the career beginnings for you. Do you mind kind of sharing a little bit of how you ended up where you are?
Yeah, well, I mean, I was exposed really young to this industry.
Okay.
My dad was a superintendent for 40 plus years before he retired. And so we're working under the table at, in the summers and stuff like that when I was like 12. And the thing is, I really enjoyed it, even though I was still always the youngest. My dad would always stick me with one guy that would have to watch me all the time. The camaraderie was there, but not to the extent I see now. But the biggest one was just the fact that at the end of the day, you had a tangible result. Your blood, sweat, and tears went into something that you could
Hmm.
turn around and say, "I did it." Whether I bury it or not every day, that's kind of beside the point. But your sense of accomplishment at the end of the day was always what really sold me.
Yeah, I think that that's huge though. Like I think
Yeah.
people don't necessarily, I mean, people say they want meaningful work, but also to see the fruits of your labor and what you're actually doing and pointing at it and like, hey, I actually accomplished something here, right? It's fulfilling.
Yes, it is for sure. Like as I've moved up, it's I definitely don't get near as excited about a great MS projects schedule or anything like that. I really got to get into site and see what everybody's accomplished in a day, and that still is something that drives me every day.
Yeah, absolutely. So also transitioning to different types of, jobs and opportunities, and you've had that with the various roles you've had.
Mhm.
How did you navigate these transitions to greater responsibility, and what were some of the key challenges you had?
Well, step to step, getting up to becoming a superintendent wasn't really that much. It was always maybe one more thing here, or now my neck is really on the line here, or it wasn't really. They didn't really. None of it was really earth shattering.
Hmm.
When I got to become a superintendent, man, I was really in for it. It's still an evolution now. I've been at it 14 years, and as the industry changes, the people we're dealing with change, and technology changes. Like
Oh
every
yeah,
day is still something new. Every day is still an opportunity to learn, and to be honest, I think that's what keeps me going. Every day, whether I want to or not, I got to learn something. But yeah, like from pipe layer to operator to lead hand to foreman, like those just, you're right, a little bit more responsibility at each step. Um, but because again, I am a passionate individual, I was already kind of doing the job I wanted before I got there, so it didn't seem to be that case.
gotcha.
Superintendent has still proves a lot of challenges every day.
Yeah, I bet. And thinking about mentors in your career and helping you along the way, how do you feel about, how do you mentorship and helping in the industry with, I think there's things, formal apprenticeships and things like that, but mentorship of maybe less experienced team members, how do you help with that?
Well, my own journey was obviously started with my dad.
Right.
I grew up in the industry and I learned a lot of things from the things he would complain about on the ride home. And then I worked for a lot of people that I didn't really get along with. Technically, really, I didn't, and it really helped shape who I wanted to be as a leader and how I wanted to approach people. And um, that is still the biggest challenge in our industry is having leaders, because lots of guys know how to do the job well, and I know there's lots of guys that do the job better than me. It's the leadership part that is super important, and it does get oversought. So when I am in the mentor role, it's one of the biggest challenge, like the biggest number one goal I've got is teaching them that an expectation is the most important thing, right? I give them an expectation and they need to follow that through, whether it's on a task or a career trajectory or a
Yeah.
trajectory or whichever it's going to be. Leadership, again, being the guy that's knowledgeable and there and will make a decision, but also one that's not too sensitive to say if he's doing something wrong, right?
Yeah.
I've had lots of moments where here's the plan, this is what we're going to do, and 15 minutes into the plan, it's not going to work for something unforeseen. I'm a big enough guy to say that, you know what, I like your plan. Let's go with it. Follow let's make sure we're being safe, and off we go. Um, and then bringing it all together. Communication's another one. So
Hmm.
when we're trying to bring guys up along in the career path, from a lead hand to a foreman or whatever, these are things. Being able to have a hard conversation, right, without it turning into an altercation, right? It's still one of those things. It's being able to say something that you're doing wrong or something you need to work on, but doing it in a way that, even if the person takes it wrong, that you don't escalate that. And again, these are kind of like my three big points that I
Yeah.
follow or try to follow. Um, so yeah, so it's the expectations, communication, and making and part of that communication having that hard one.
Yeah. No, those are some really great points. What have you seen, obviously since riding in the truck with your dad and all the other things, like you've seen a lot through the years. Like, what have you seen as significant changes in the construction industry over the years? Like, what have you seen, and how's that impacted the work itself and how you go about it? I'm just curious.
Well, a very common thing is the complaint of the new generation. I don't think it's necessarily just the new generation. I think it's the people that we are attracting because it is a good job to have. But we're getting people now that aren't necessarily the people that have had troubles in their life, or like the old adage goes, you can fail at everything in your life and still have a job in construction. I think now we're 180 degrees from that. Is we don't want to fail in life, so we are going to go into construction, and that is bringing a
Good.
different type of people. And so it has brought along a lot of technology as well.
Yep.
There's technology we're using in equipment and in the field that kind of bridges the gap a little for the shortage of talented people. Like people just haven't had 15 years. They're super eager, but they're only 2 years in, and they've gone through a school or they've got some time, but they're not quite yet talented enough to do things the way we used to. So now we have technology we can lean on to help them be productive and still meet the requirements of the project for quality, and even construction software. Guys are doing timesheets digital. We do all our safety stuff
Okay.
digital, right?
Yeah.
So across the board, technology is I think one of the biggest answers and challenges for the newer generation in construction, because there's very, very few people like myself that are generational. Everybody grew up saying you're going to do better than me, and I am, but I stayed in the same generation, or
Yeah.
sorry, in the same industry. Sorry.
Yeah. I have a question on that because I know a lot of our listeners, especially some of the schools I support right now, there's a lot of tech students who are trying to figure out where to go. And I'm always like, don't go to the same big employers. Like, take the tech knowledge and apply it in an industry that's growing, like construction and healthcare and other things. Do you have any examples of some of the tech that people are using? I'm just curious just to hear
Yeah.
that if maybe a
Well,
listener wants to hear about it because I've been sharing with them like we get so pre-programmed on what success looks like, and sometimes it's not in the industry you're thinking.
yeah, I mean, the one that jumps to front of mind would be like BIM technologies, BIM
Okay.
360, which is a program that's used on a lot of the really large infrastructure projects or building projects, like a hospital project, for instance. They'll have 15 to 20 BIM modelers, and
Wow. Okay.
where you can take the drawings, architectural, and then be able to create a 3D model, interactive model that you can kind of like travel through on your screen and see what it's supposed to look like. So,
Oh, wow.
and I've used this technology on projects in the past for civil work, for underground work, and how underground utilities and footings and all these things are all going to work together, right? Sometimes it's a nice tool because sometimes it does change how you thought you were going to do a job based on the depth of a footing versus a pipeline, or vice versa, right?
Yep.
So yeah, like that's definitely one of them anyway. Probably the most advanced, I would think, out of everything else. There's also what I had mentioned before with GPS and machine control, and if you're technology savvy, I mean, there's definitely a lot of places in construction.
Great to hear. Thank you for sharing an example because I think it gives you a visual of like where you can apply yourself. So let's advice for aspiring young people who, might be considering a career in the trades. Any specific skills or experiences you think that are essential? I mean, you said communication, so these are a lot of the same human skills, but other skills or experiences you feel that are essential for success?
Well, I think if you know you want to go build something, but you don't know what you want to build, I would say, like, I do have a civil earthworks background, and this is probably a little bit skewed because of that, but um, that type of work covers so many different things, right? Just road building is not just road building, right? We do utility installations. I know most of my crews, they'll be pouring concrete, they'll be tying rebar, they'll be doing those things. We'll install hydroelectric ducts, or alongside of electricians or other trades. So it'll give you a really broad exposure, I think,
Hmm.
very much quicker than, say, if you were in a building. Because
Mm.
generally, if you're in a building, you're kind of, you go in, you do your thing, you leave, the next crew comes in, they do their thing, then maybe you're coming back once they're done, so you don't get the overlap as much as you do maybe in civil. I would definitely
Makes
recommend
sense.
that if you're not sure.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I haven't really thought of it that way. Yeah, no, totally. Um, Future of the trades. If you could look into a crystal ball, I believe there's a lot of potential, a lot of opportunities. I had some experience and dabbled a bit into it when I got into some of the talent stuff I was helping out an organization with. But what do you like see in the foresee in the construction industry, and what's to come? Because I know there's a lot of people not leaving the industry just to leave it, but are either retiring. But what do you think about the construction industry for the future? Growing opportunities for, yeah, what do you think?
Well, it's going to be different. I mean, 100% it's going to be different. Hard work, a really good work ethic, and not being afraid to get dirty is going to be a really, really important trait. But you know what? There's lots of things that you can do with that don't require you getting dirty. Technology is still going to continue to grow. This will be one of the last, if any, if ever, that would be replaced with robots because there's just too much human that needs to be in this.
Yeah,
The other one is just again back to the leadership front. Excuse me. Because of the evolving generation that we are seeing in the industry, and as we continue to promote, like this conversation now, and other ways that we're doing things, we're going to continue to get a different type of person in the industry that wants to work, wants to build, wants to do things, but just aren't built the same way or didn't go through the same things, right? Getting slapped in the back of the head and told you're being a jerk isn't going to work, right?
right. Yep.
So being a really strong leader is more important than it ever has been in the industry.
Yeah.
And it's going to come because you got to be able to bring across, like, or bring together guys that have no want to be inside and they just want to be dirty all day and they want to do things and they want to play on the equipment, to the people that are helping develop the project on a different front. You got to bring all them together. You can't necessarily do that if you're single minded. So
100%. Yeah.
right. So I really think these are things that are going to continue to grow hand in hand as it evolves. The industry is going to change, and it has been progressively over the last 10 years. And in 10 years, I don't even know what it's going to look like.
Yeah. It's probably going to be
but,
unrecognizable given where everything's heading. I can only
but you know
imagine.
what? The only single thing that'll be stuck there is that one person that has to manage all sides. And that is exactly where the growth needs to be. I think that's where we're lacking it in a whole in the industry. I think a lot of companies do a really good job of taking care of their people and making sure that they're doing it. But you know what? No one's perfect, and there's still lots of room to grow.
Thank you so much. This is like super insightful on your journey, on the experience you've had, and also insights that I don't think a lot of people would hear without something like this talk or on this podcast. And I want to think about there's a couple young people I know that I know are going to listen to this because we've had this conversation recently where they were put down the path of what their parents thought was success and ended up in corporate and doing projects. Um, but picked up the phone recently and called me and said, "Is this it? Like, I want to get out there. I want to do things. I want to be in the field." And I think that sometimes they're afraid to pivot or to take those project management skills, the leadership skills, or even a couple years in business because they like working with their hands. Because on the side, guess what they're doing? Woodworking,
Yeah.
all these really cool things, remodeling their house themselves with the floors. Like, so I always encourage people to look bigger and like, if this is where you want to be, why don't you have a coffee with someone in the industry, or why don't you see if you can job shadow or something? But like, what are your thoughts about people that maybe went one way but really they like with their hands, they want to be
Well,
in?
one of the things we didn't really talk about was the fact that even if you are brand new into the industry, the wages are still more than livable, and so you can still change completely and still be able to feed your family. Another one, actually, from what you were saying there, reminds me, like here in BC, for instance, there's some spectacular areas that we're working, whether it's well, back in the day it was run of river or high, like some of the pipeline work, or
Yeah,
even developments now. Like there's so many jobs that you can be fully remote and be in the most pristine areas, and you're still getting paid to be there.
yeah,
There's some beautiful, beautiful places that you can be in this country and get paid to do something. And it doesn't necessarily mean you're destroying a habitat. You're doing all these things. Like it's like we have a lot of things we need to follow when we're in these areas, but at the same time, like man, like if you're just trying to get into it and you're an outdoors person and you're reasonably hands on. Oh yeah, like you can find a lot of really really interesting things to do.
very cool. Well, I'm gonna say it out loud because you're one of the few that I've had in the trades on, and you may get some fanfare, people reaching out to ask you some questions afterwards. I hope
Sure.
that's okay.
No, that's totally fine. I wouldn't do this otherwise.
Okay, thank you so much. I also want to say huge thank you for sharing your incredible journey with myself and the people here about your experiences and talking about the construction industry and the power of mentorship in the trades. It's been a pleasure talking to you and continuing the conversation. So thank you so much for lending some time to this today.
No, I really appreciate you reaching out and allowing me to be here. This has been a lot of fun.
Awesome, awesome. So as you know, Julian's story, it's a testament to the values of hands-on experience, continuous learning, and the importance of guiding the next generation of skilled professionals. So whether you're considering a career in the trades or looking for a way to grow within your industry, his advice and his perspectives offer some valuable takeaways. For our listeners, if you enjoyed today's episode, please share it with your network. You can now find Coffee with Convery on coffeewithconvery.com or your favorite podcast platform. Also, be sure to follow us on Instagram for updates and more inspiring content. This has been Coffee with Convery, where we show you that success isn't always about climbing the corporate ladder. Sometimes it's about building your own jungle gym.